What's going on, guys? Back with another video, and today, this video is all about if Windows 11 game mode makes a difference. Now, game mode is basically just a setting that's built in onto Windows. It's just an easy little click setting, which optimizes your PC for play, and that sounds cool, but it doesn't really make a difference. So I ran a FPS benchmark on a stress testing software, which stress tests your CPU, RAM, your GPU, specifically your GPU, and even your storage drives. Like everything just gets all stress test to see if it really makes a difference. Because what it really does is, you might be wondering what game mode is game mode basically just turns off kind of just basic little settings like automatic updates, notifications, just really like low impactful stuff that probably won't even make a difference in FPS unless if you have like a shitty computer. But yes, let's just get into the benchmarks and let's see if it really makes a difference at all, because it's been kind of controversial. So I just want to kind of like tell you guys what's good. So let's get into it. So as you can see, the low settings with the while it's on, it got 213 frames per second. By the way, this like the lowest setting in the stress test, so that's why it's higher frames. But on off is 210, so that's a 3 FPS difference. And keep in mind, I'm running on a GTX 1660 Super, an i5 10400, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and 2 SSDs and 1 hard drive. So I'm on, I would say, a more of a high-end PC. So for this difference is kind of not really a big enough difference to really make it better performance, better gameplay, better everything. Because with free frames, you really can't feel the difference with 3 frames. So yeah, that's the low settings. But we have other benchmarks I did. So on the medium settings, we got literally the same frames per second, 166, 166. Now, I don't know why it was the same, but yeah, on medium settings, it didn't really impact any difference. It might have been maybe like a little slight like window or something running in the background that maybe changed it a bit. But overall, really no difference with medium settings. On lower settings, it did, but on medium settings, it balanced out with literally no difference whatsoever. Yeah, let's check out what the high is. With the high settings, it's kind of the same story, just 2 frames more. Off got 115 frames and on got 117. Keep in mind, these are all 1080p quality. So yeah. So basically, yeah, it's the same thing. 2 frames per second. It really only adds a couple frames per second, mostly on high-end PCs, but it may be different on a lower-end PC because just with other factors. But yeah, again, the same stupid story. And now we're on extreme 1080p, just like the highest 1080p settings. And for whatever reason, off got a higher FPS. I have no explanation for this. It might have been like I said, a other factor, but off really got more FPS. So, oh my gosh, game mode ruins performance. I'm joking. But that's kind of funny on how you get 1 more frame on extreme settings with off. It was probably a little error, but likely just, I don't know, pretty close though. And now with 4K optimized, keep in mind this is on 4K resolution, but it was on optimized, so it's technically not straight 4K, but it's just an optimized version. On off, we got 25 FPS, and on, we got 29. That's the biggest difference on all these settings. On 4K optimized, for whatever reason, has the highest FPS on 4K optimized. So basically, at the end of the day, game mode does increase performance, technically. So as you saw, every mode had some sort of increase if it was just 1 FPS or 4, except for medium. Medium was the same, and on extreme we lost 1 FPS. but in general, it did increase the FPS by like an average of 2 FPS. Which in reality, you're not gonna really notice that. You're not gonna notice 2 to 3 FPS. So should you have it on? Well, yes. It doesn't really make a difference, but so basically, at the end of the day, if you have a low end PC, it will probably make a huge difference. Considering lower end PCs are more, it just obviously they have lower end hardware, so everything matters basically with setting wise. With high end PCs though, these settings though don't really impact the specs and the performance because the hardware is just so darn good, it doesn't really affect it as much as like a lower end PC because the performance isn't as good and it can't, you know. So hope this kind of helped you figure out. Game mode is just kind of like a hit or miss. It either gives you a 2 FPS increase or nothing at all, or maybe a 10 FPS if you have a low end PC, which some of you might have. So yeah, just go ahead and go test it yourself to see what it gives you, like personally. But in general, it's not going to be a big difference. So subscribe and like. Hope this helped you. Peace.